The sense of pride and accomplishment of like finishing a really hard hike or a really hard bike, all of those things that you can progress in, you can see the growth throughout it translates so perfectly with life of like the ups and downs, the battles, the people that you need to lean on. It goes hand in hand with what we experience throughout our lives.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Birdies Conversation, where we talk about finding joy in the outdoors. Angel City has partnered with Birdies to lead with purpose on this talk series. You know Birdies, our jersey sleeve sponsor and the brand behind the most stylish and comfortable flats. And in this series, we discuss topics important to women and all people to help them rise up both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Fish, and in this conversation, I talk with Savannah McCaskill, our starting midfielder, go-to playmaker, and the ultimate Meg Master, as we go deep into her adventures in the outdoors. From through hikes in the snow to sharing her love for Mother Nature with teammates, Sav shares how we can all find joy in the outdoors. So get comfortable and get ready to learn how we can all be savvy in the outdoors. See what I did there? We recently acquired an amazing player, Katie Johnson, on our team for this season. You may have known her in the past, playing on some teams. I know you guys are homies off the field as well. So what has that been like, just playing with one of your best friends?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Keijo and I have been friends since 2018. And so we started off at Sky Blue together. She was getting traded from Seattle at the time. And so it was my rookie year at Sky Blue. We went through the craziness that Sky Blue had to offer, and just kind of hit it off from the start. We played really well together, understood each other's movements. She's also a footballer, and like her movement just comes natural to me. And so being able to turn and face forward and have a presence as a nine that she has, and like being able to combine off of her has just kind of always been naturally for me. So I was able to play with her then, and then we both ended up in Chicago, which was also fun. Different style because I was playing as more of an inverted winger, and we both tended to come off the bench at the same time. So we still got to play together a lot. But yeah, getting back to be able to play with her every single day in training and then in games a lot too. I think it's pretty obvious that the connection's there. It's just, fun football. It's, combining off of each other, not having to think where she's going to be, just like being able to take my touch, know that she's going to be in that pocket, able to find her, and it's fun. But we're also friends off the field, which adds a whole nother like dynamic to it. And I think because we're such good friends off the field, it's even better on the field. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's seen that on the field, that chemistry. And it's so, yeah, you guys just know where each other are going to be. And like there was one pass you just hit, and she was nowhere to be found. And then all of a sudden she's on the end of it, like cutting in front of the defender. And it's like just that the synergy is awesome. And yeah. I can tell you're definitely enjoying it. So, that's a lot of the focus on the field, but anybody who follows you on your social media or knows you are a big Mother Nature lover. If you're not playing, you're playing outside. So, yep. What do the outdoors mean to you?
Oh, it's everything. It's like my escape, my way to like connect with something bigger. My reminder of like, there's a whole world out there that I haven't discovered, that not everyone has discovered. And every time that I go outside, I kind of experience something new, depending on where I choose to go. It could be a daily walk in a new neighborhood, or it could be going to the beach, or, a trip to the mountains, a new trail that I hadn't explored yet. It's just so like the opportunities are endless. And I think it's just that reminder of everything that's going on in my life is so small compared to how big the earth is and how big the possibilities are of what's out there and what's to be explored. And I think that's super cool to like have that experience and have like get in touch with that, because you don't really get that in your day-to-day life, to be able to escape and really turn everything off and just be in the moment and be present and experience what is in front of you. I think we're so busy in day-to-day life and the hustle and bustle of the world that it's really hard to turn your brain off, and nature for me is that switch that I'm able to turn everything off and just enjoy what's in front of me.
Yeah, I think I mean, I definitely relate. I lived in a van just for that reason, to be more nature. And I think I used to use the word escape too, but I feel like now it's more just to like explore, to bring more like exploration into your world instead of the routines that we get in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, with especially all the pressure you have as a player on our team or a professional soccer player as a whole, like there's so much that you can get tunnel vision with or feel a weight after a game or all these things where it can just like zone your framework in. And then so the nature just like balances that, right? It's like, oh
for
wait,
sure.
but wait, there's a way bigger picture. Like,
Yeah.
what's next? Like, how can I keep exploring? Um, where did this start though? Where did this start for you? I know we're both from South Carolina, so I know there's nature. You grew up more in nature than I did. But do you have memories like when you were a child, or when did this happen that you got the bug?
Um, I didn't really start like getting out and exploring until I was in college, really. But like, I mean, nature's art always been so it's kind of changed. Like, I grew up fishing with my dad and my grandfather, and so like my earliest memories are like bass fishing or like going out and catching brim and like coming home and cooking them up and eating them and like that was like my whole childhood. And then I got a dirt bike when I was 5 years old. That was like my 5 year old birthday present. I don't know like why my parents thought that was a good
Standard
idea
South
because
Carolina life.
yeah, like the first time I ever got on it, I put like the full like dirt bike get up. So like the chest protector, the pants, the helmet, the goggles, like the full setup. And I was on a little Yamaha 50cc. And in our front yard, we had like a big building off to the side that was like my dad's garage, and it had like the boat. Eventually, the dirt bike was in it, and all that kind of stuff. And there was a rose bush that my mom had like put through like a vine fence looking thing, and so I hopped on this 50cc in front of all of these people, and I just like no idea what I was doing. Obviously, I was 5 years old. Turned straight into the rose bush, crashed right through the fence. And
Oh.
my mom was so mad once she got over the fact that I was okay. She was like, "My rose bush." But anyways, so yeah, like that's had that, and then like grew up on four wheelers, go karts. That was kind of like my nature experience, and like grew up doing water sports on lakes. That was like my dad used to barefoot ski when he was younger, and so he loves being on boats and going outside and all that kind of stuff. So that was my introduction to nature from like that side of things. And then whenever I was in college, I started to go on hikes with friends and take more trips to the mountains. And then I took a backpacking trip to Peru and did the Salcantay Trek and did Machu Picchu. And I mean, to this day, that's still one of the most epic trips I've ever taken in my life. Like, it was absolutely unbelievable. It was 10 days in Peru, six of which were actually on the trek, backpacking, sleeping in tents, um, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we had like mules that would carry the weight of the stuff, so like food, and then it was guided, so like they would set the tent up for you and all that kind of stuff. But that was my like introductory to like, oh wow, there's like a whole world out there that's like so like there's so much to explore, and that was just like one little section of it. And obviously everyone makes fun of it because that was like my first backpacking trip, and I like started off with a bang, and so like now all my other trips have to like live up to expectations. But that was like my introductory to like, oh wow, I really like this stuff. And so since then I like have slowly like gathered the equipment and like all of that kind of stuff. And so now anytime I want to go, I can just load the car up or take a one night trip and head to the mountains or head to the desert or anything like that. And yeah, it's just kind of escalated from there.
I love that. And now you've been sharing this with your teammates. I know recently
Yeah.
you did a Joshua Tree trip. We went last what was it, fall out to Big
Yeah.
Bear to do some biking. Like, what does it mean for you to share it with others?
Oh, it's awesome. A lot of people I feel like can be intimidated by the outdoors because a lack of knowledge, a lack of access, a lack of the right equipment, anything like that. And so, whenever I'm able to take people to experience a new place for the first time, or experience camping or biking, hiking, it doesn't really matter. Like being able to share that with other people is super special, especially when they're like really good friends of mine. I think that's like so cool. Like there's nothing better to me than like sitting around a campfire in the middle of the woods or the middle of the desert, sharing stories, having a good time and just like being there, being with one another. I think that's super special because you don't have, especially when you don't have cell service, like there's nothing else to do but talk to each other. And so it's super cool to be able to have that experience with teammates and with friends.
Yeah, I think that's always why I've loved it too. It's that connection just encompasses being outdoors, connecting to the outdoors, connecting to yourself, connecting to others because you're in just this like raw self, raw elements.
Yeah.
Um, and it's something about being around a campfire just brings out like deep combos and life talk.
Yep.
Like you just go straight to it.
Uh-huh.
So what does it mean to you outdoors for all? Because with Angel City, everything we do, it's for all. So definitely
Yeah.
want to explore this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it means getting more people outdoors. I mean, I think it's really taking the scariness factor out of it and simplifying it for people. Because I think people think that in order to enjoy nature, you need to take these extravagant trips or you need to go on vacation or go somewhere super far away. But I think nature can be as simple as go for a walk around your neighborhood. It can be go to your local park and enjoy time with people or enjoy time by yourself. Enjoy being outside. I think also it's realizing that, especially where we live in LA, nature's not that far as you have like the Santa Monica Mountains that has a ton of cool trails that not a lot of people know about. Like people think that it's kind of just like canyons and like like some pretty expensive houses up there, but like there's actually a really cool series of trails that go through the mountains that are open and free for everyone. And so I think it's just really spreading the knowledge of that those things do exist and a lot of it can be done for free. That I think is super important for the community to know because like I said, like I think a lot of people think that you have to spend a lot of money in order to go enjoy nature. And yes, of course, like some of the big epic trips like that is going to eventually cost money. But simple things as going for a hike on a free trail that's nearby, I think is super important for people to know.
Okay, I know you go on this trip with your dad every November, every Thanksgiving,
We try
Mason?
to, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah? So you go on a through hiking trip in friggin' November, which is cold, like you're going in the most intense conditions, but
Yeah.
as your mentality is, like you just do it. So tell me about this adventure, and what have you learned, like from these insanely ridiculous treks?
Yeah. So it kind of started right after I got out of college or right around college time that we started to do it. Um, and because my season goes mostly until Thanksgiving, like Thanksgiving weekend was always the like one weekend out of the year that we could manage to figure out to go on a trip. And so we haven't like gone anywhere like far. And so we've done East Coast trips for the most part. So like we've done the Art Loeb Trail that's 32 miles, I believe. And everything we do like is usually like a 3 to 4 day trek. So we've done Art Loeb, we did part of Pisgah or part of the Smoky Mountains, part of the Appalachian Trail, which was super cool. But because it's East Coast in November, like you said, it can be pretty chilly. So when we did the Appalachian Trail 2 years ago, I believe, they weren't calling for snow. So we were like, all right, it's going to be cold, but like it's not going to be snowy. So we were like driving through the parkway, and then part of the parkway was closed because of ice, and so we ended up having to like my mom drops us off every year, so she was like detouring through the mountains, and my mom driving in the mountains is hilarious to begin with. But we turned the corner, and the part of the trail where it starts was completely white. Like, so it was so cold and it was so cloudy and foggy that the fog was actually freezing. And so it wasn't snowing, but the fog itself was freezing. And so it felt like it was snowing. Um, yeah. So
This
my
is when
dad and
I
I
would
get
have jumped back in the car with mom, by the way.
my dad and I get out of the car and we're like, "Are we doing it?" And we were like, "We're doing it. We're here." So we like put on all of our layers or whatever, put our backpack on, and get our hiking poles. And we're like, all right, here we go. My mom's like, are you guys sure? And we're like, yeah, it'll be fine, whatever. About a mile into the trail, everything's frozen. Like the ground's frozen, the trees are frozen, the rocks are frozen, everything's frozen. So we're basically like making our way very slowly with our trekking poles, full packs on, because we were going to be gone for 3 days. So we had like all of our food, water, everything. Um, and ultimately we made it. The first day was the coldest. We got to camp on the first day and it was probably single digits, and we got there at like 3 p.m. And the way that the Appalachian Trail is set up is it's like established little huts basically. So like all of it's mostly hut camping, which has like a built-in like made makeshift fireplace area. So we were like, all right, well, we'll just make a fire, we'll huddle around it, and then we'll just go to bed. Well, everything was frozen, so the wood wouldn't burn. And so we literally had a fire going for maybe 2 hours, enough to like eat dinner. And then we literally both just went to bed. We were like, this is,
Peace.
I cannot be awake anymore. Like, I need to go to sleep and conserve all of my body temperature. And so we were like, like sleeping bag fully, like gloves, hat, everything. Second day warmed up a bit. Third day it was like 65 and sunny and like beautiful, typical East Coast weather in the winter. So that was the most like extreme one that we've done as far as temperature goes. But it's been fun.
I love that, and also of like mad anxiety thinking about all of that trekking in the snow and the slippery rocks, and Pisgah is gnarly with their roots, and I just
Uh huh.
but I think that's something I really love about the outdoors is like I mean, it's like life on a 3 day trip, right? Like it's your
Yeah.
life journey and all the highs and lows and all the challenges and
Mm-hmm.
all these elements that you're like, it's you versus the elements.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's so powerful in just how to grow as a human, and also like get confidence in yourself. So, what are some of the greatest like keys, or just like takeaways that you've received from being in the outdoors that you think can apply or have applied to you on the soccer field or could just apply to anybody in their own life or workplace?
I think, like you said, like it's going through all of the challenges that one trail can throw at you, and just Mother Nature in general. Like as far as temperature, weather, everything goes. Obviously, you have to be safe about it, and know when it's time to pull out if weather does get really bad. And I think that also teaches you something else. We went on one trek that they the weather ended up turning really bad, and so we ended up having to um, cut the trip early. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned about being in the outdoors is like being able to respect Mother Nature and being able to respect the fact that that wasn't going to be the best conditions. And so have like dropping my ego and dropping my pride of like really wanting to finish the trek, but also at the same time like knowing that it wasn't worth it. And so like knowing when to like call it quits, I think is super hard. And that was a big lesson, like a big thing for me to go through and learn and work through. I think also like you start out and you're like the first day goes great. Day two, you're like, man, why am I doing this? Like, it's kind of like anything in life. Like you can start out something so great, and then something really like you just hit a wall, and you're like, I don't know if this is worth it. Like, I want to go home in the comfort of my bed. I'd like to be warm. And then you like kind of slowly make your way out of it. Hopefully, you have some good people around you that you can kind of lean on, and you know, also like a metaphor for life of like your circle and your people that you need, because no one can go through life alone. And then you start coming out the other side, and then you finish and you're like, wow, all right, well, that was worth it. Like you The sense of pride and accomplishment of like finishing a really hard hike or a really hard bike, snowboarding, skiing, like all of those things that you can progress in is like you can see the growth throughout it. I think is super cool, and translates so much so perfectly with life, of like the ups and downs, the battles, the mental battles, the people that you need to lean on, and all of that kind of stuff. It's just it goes hand in hand with what we experience throughout our lives, and it's in a very abbreviated like time span. Like you go through everything in like 3 or 4 days, and you're like, oh wow, well that's cool. Like, and once you like go through it, then you know that you can go through it if it happens in life too.
Yeah, I totally relate to all of that. Like controlling the controllables, having these challenges for yourself,
Hmm.
and knowing that you can lean into yourself to get through it, but also being humble enough to recognize when it's not the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah, just more and more nature. Just want everyone to explore more and more. Um,
Yeah.
so, what would you say to anybody who's may want to spend more time in the outdoors but just don't know where to get started?
Yeah, I would say like if you're fortunate enough to have friends that like nature, reach out to them and, tag along on a trip. I think, the thing about people in nature and people that love the outdoors, like in my experience, are super super cool and super like down to show you the ropes. And I think that's super special. And so like find those people. Look for, community groups. There's a lot of in that I've found, like bike shops in good biking areas have groups for anyone that wants to go on group rides, and I think that's super cool because it's a way to find local trails. It's a way to learn, like navigation wise, where you're going, and it's also a way of just getting connected with people in your area. Whether that be like you make friends, whether maybe afterwards you go grab dinner, or you start becoming friends outside of that thing. I think that's super cool as well, and that a lot of places have those for just hiking. Skiing, I'm sure, is the same way. All of that stuff. So it's finding your niche and finding like those people that you can kind of learn from. I think is super important. And that's also on us that enjoy nature to bring others into it, bring others into the fold, make sure that people know that that's everyone's welcome, and it's not like a closed off exclusive group. It's nature's for everyone, and I think it's on the people that run those groups to really reach out and get new people involved.
Yeah, I think we live in such a great time to find community quickly, whether it's social media or, like you said, going to a local shop in whatever sport or whatever
Hmm.
part of nature you're trying to explore. Like, there's so many opportunities to do that. And, like you said, the outdoor community is like majority rad people that want to share
Yeah.
it, right? It's like, as soon as you experience nature, you're like, oh, this is meant to be shared. Like, I want more people to feel this and this connection, and just share the stoke. Like, that is the perfect
Hmm.
line for it. Well, thank you for sharing it with your friends, and I know your dog. That's your like favorite
Yes.
travel buddy. Um, and just
Yes.
like
Bentley
being
is
open.
well traveled.
Bentley's yeah. Well, we won't even go into that journey with Ollie and Bentley. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just thank you for like exploring it on your own and challenging yourself, and then also sharing the wisdom you've received and also sharing it with friends. But how can we keep track of what you're doing, and is there anything on the horizon for you outside of Angel City?
Um, I try to update my Instagram. I'm really bad at social media, so it doesn't always make it up there. The
Because you're
Joshua Tree
outdoors.
pictures, I know the Joshua Tree pictures are still coming. They're gonna make it up on the gram at some point. But the next big trip I have planned is out to Telluride, Colorado. Um, my best friend's sister is getting married in July, and it actually works out perfectly because we have a break July 10th through the 16th, and her wedding's on the 15th, and so we're gonna go. And she's having like the most ideal, perfect mountain wedding. Like there's just like a big plot of land in Telluride, and everyone's camping and um, doing it completely outdoors. So it's going to be super fun. So I'm going to head out there in July. So that's the
Cool.
next big trip I have planned. We have a few like double off days coming up, like June, June-ish. Um, and so I'm gonna try to get out to Big Bear at some point, um, just for a day or two, just to get away. So hopefully that works out. But yeah, I'm
Nice.
excited for Telluride.
Oh, it's in July. It's gonna be
Yeah,
gorgeous. Oh,
yeah,
well, what alignment with the season? That's amazing as well.
yeah.
That rarely happens. Well, yeah. Well, like everyone's just heard. If you're not seeing Sav on the pitch, you're not gonna see her 'cause she's somewhere lost out in the woods.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you for joining us, making the time to share just your adventures. Yeah, I'm still processing the ones with your dad. Those are nuts, dude.
You're welcome anytime. Come on.